Okay, so welcome everyone. If you're new to Zoom, you can click on the captions and you can certainly click on this button that allows us to record it. It won't record I won't be uploading the chat, so you can say whatever you want in there, any questions, anything you want to share with the group, or you can text me directly. I'll do my best to answer questions. But welcome everyone. It's always great to be talking into the ether there, as any Aries would appreciate being able to speak at you all without having any feedback. um, but in all seriousness, it's great to be here. And happy 2024. I hope it's going well for you already. I hope you're steering clear of any bugs and keeping warm and all of that. It's going to be a special year. There's a lot happening. I won't be talking about that tonight, but there's always some fascinating things happening in the next couple of years. Major, what we might call cosmic shifts. You often hear that with astrology, but really there's a lot changing. A lot of the major outer planets are changing sign in the coming few years. So we're going to be moving into a very different setup, a very different energetic, you might want to call it. But anyway, today is a revision for those of you who have started 101 and were with me from October to December. And I often do a revision night. I'm doing two. They're quite different, but I often do them because it's a big deal learning a new language. And there's a lot to astrology, as you'll be aware if you're studying it with me, or you're thinking about joining us, or you've done a lot of reading and you're thinking about coming into 102, which is starting in a couple of weeks from now. And it's a big language. And the more you understand the basics, the more fluent you'll be, and you'll be able to apply those basics to any type of astrology that you do. So if you're somebody that's very interested in the stock market, in Bitcoin, pardon me while I yawn, or whatever they're called, those, I want to call them FTPs, but they're not, they're those not NFTs, aren't they? Yes. Whatever it is that you may be interested in, using astrology alongside tarot or counseling, or simply just loving this subject because it's so revealing of who we are, why we're here, the people around us, what's going on in the world at any given point. And so astrology is vast. And the thing to remember is that there's no one type of astrology, there's no one type of astrologer. So your interests, your knowledge, your learning, you might have a love of words, a love of literature, a love of painting, a love of art, whatever it may be, you'll be able to use your knowledge and use astrology as a language to interpret that or to at least enhance it. And this is what's so wonderful about the subject, whatever you decide to do. You may be interested in predicting the upcoming US election, for instance. Again, we can use astrology to give us insights into almost any area of life. But on a deeper, more personal level, it reflects the deeper personal aspects of who we are. And the thing to remember, and I try to hammer this point across all the way through the course, is that um, it's not a fixed fate. We're all born at a particular moment in time, and we all have the qualities of that moment, as Jung famously said about astrology. We have qualities of that moment, and depending on 101 other factors around us, including our family, including the society, including maybe a religion, a faith that we may have, the time of um, uh, of history that we're born into, our gender, a whole range of possibilities and facts and ideas. Um, these all influence how we get to use that energy. Yeah. So you might be a great rebel, somebody with tremendous rebellious energy that's here to really wake people up, what we might call a catalyst. And for those of you who know something about astrology already, somebody who's very Uranian, somebody who's got a strong Uranus in their chart, will be attracted to places and people where they can wake people up, shake things up, change things, see things from a new perspective. Yeah. Now, but if you're born into a society where you haven't got a voice, or you're dominated by people who are fearful of change, that's going to it's going to have an effect on how you get to use your chart, for example. So you may use your chart immediately because everybody feels like a robot. Everybody's a Stepford wife. Everybody's just programmed to do what everybody says. And you say, hang on a minute, I got to see the world differently. Everybody needs to wake up. Or you might subjugate that energy for a while and it comes out in in different ways later or just maybe more subtle ways. So the thing to remember is that when we have a birth chart, and let me just share a chart with you now. This is the chart of the moment, 7 o'clock when we started here. When you have a birth chart, it is a moment of time. You share it with anything else born at that moment. One of my oldest friends was born at the moment that my parents, their best friends, were married, and literally within a few minutes of each other. So while my good friend is getting married, my best friend, the best friends of my parents are getting, sorry, it's the other way around. When my best friends of my parents are getting married, a good friend of mine is being born, you know. So you can have birth charts for anything with a beginning, the beginning of a company, the first time you meet somebody, that's a very important birth chart, what we call the first meeting chart. We teach you that later, how to interpret that. That's always fascinating. And once you know that, and I give you the heads up now, once you know that, you can keep an eye on your watch when you meet somebody new. Make a note. You'll have a chart later to interpret. So there are charts for everything. Charts for companies, charts for your pet when they were born, if you know it, or at least the moment that uh, you adopted them or bought them. So astrology is so much more than what you might read in the newspapers. And also, it's so much more than what you might read in a simple sun sign book, even though there are some pretty amazing sun sign books out there as well. The So we're looking at a moment of time. We're looking at energies, whether they get used in different ways or not. I did an article last year for one of the big magazines on serial killers and astrology. And of course, there's no serial killer chart, just like there's no astrologer's chart or pop idol's chart or politician's chart. You know, we all have a set of energies and drives, and we make decisions along the way, and we have people around us that influence us, opportunities or closed doors that enable us or restrict us from becoming who we were born to be. So the birth chart is this remarkable mirror of who we were born to be. Should we get the opportunity? Should we live long enough to experience many, many different sides of it? And uh, this is the, I would say, limitation, but actually it's greater than you might think. So your chart isn't this fait accompli. It isn't this sense of you are who you are, this is who you're going to be, and that's it. You can't do anything about it. Uh, the chart stays the same, but as the planets move around, we get opportunities to evolve, to recognize, to make changes. And so we are always a living, developing person, living, breathing, developing, changing, hopefully improving person. And that all comes from that initial moment of time. So it's a very exciting uh, aspect, really. And I find astrology far more exciting to know that it's a seed and we can grow into different things, or we grow in one area depending on how much we're watered in that area or fed in that area, rather than thinking you can look at a chart and know exactly what's going to happen to somebody, because you can't. And you can have a good guess sometimes. I've seen enough charts over the years to think, okay, I wouldn't be surprised if that person does this, or they've done that, or different things in their lives, whatever it may be. But the great thing about free will, energetics, somebody's decision, somebody's choices, these are all things that uh, the chart informs but doesn't seal the fate. Okay. So as we go through our study at the LSA, one of the things that you'll learn is that well, you could say destiny is negotiable. You might say character is destiny, but how you use that character, where you pour your energy into, is negotiable as well. Yeah. Okay. Um, Triona asked a random question. Yes, a lot of people use astro.com. You don't need to use anything else. Great site for having a free account, lots of charts. We've also got that ability in the on the LSA site, etc., to cast some charts and to print things out. But astro.com is one of the most favorite ones as well. Okay. All right, so I may have missed a few questions, but I shall do my best to catch up with things. All right. What I wanted to show you very briefly, and this comes down to a little bit of advertising and a little bit of help. So once you've created an account, you'll have something called My Dashboard up there. And there is a great video on the homepage showing you how to navigate, but I'm just going to show you this. This is what's, I've got everything obviously in here, but you can click on Start or Resume Course, and this is 101. And I've got the sound off. There we are. You can always put the sound up and it can auto start. But in here, and you may have to open your window quite wide to see this, in here you've got a number of different folders, different lessons. Yeah. So there's a welcome to the course, and you can click on here. There's a welcome from me, building blocks, the different dates to watch the Zoom sessions, the assignments, the lesson by lesson guide, and then you've got all the tutorials that we recently recorded online from Zoom on a Wednesday night. This is for 101 that we started in October. So have a look at this if you've not really delved into your 101, or you're thinking about joining or joining 102, whatever you're doing. This will give you an idea of what to click on. So you might click on here, and there we go. I'll be talking, and you can, on some of these things, there's a transcript, for instance, and you can download it by pressing this button here. There are also slides that you can download. There's a lot of material here. And the reason that we put so much material in 101 is because the more, as I said earlier, the more the basics you can master, the better you'll be in your astrology. The more you understand the signs, the planets, maybe the houses and the aspects, but certainly the signs and the planets, as we've done in 101, the more you'll be able to articulate placements. So then we've got uh, lessons from 1 all the way down to 6. There's even some reading before you go into course 102. And we cover the introducing the chart, elements and modes, the zodiac signs, the inner planets, the social and outer planets. Everything is here, what we're going to be recapping tonight and next week. So feel very welcome to jump in there if you haven't done much of that already. You get access for 18 months. We always extend that if you need it. So don't feel afraid to just email and say, can I have an extension? We just do that. But automatically you get 18 months of access as well. And we've also got extras like Kira Sutherland, wonderful Kira, who came to see us a few years ago. She talks about all the elements of the chart, fire, earth, air, and water, and how they relate to people's health. We put that in as an extra. And also Richard Swatton, one of our astrologers, he's a psychologist. He's given a quick talk about each of the zodiac signs. So I wanted to include as much as I could on the basics here. So check that out if you haven't done already with 101, because there's just so much. It's a treasure trove of information. All right, so I'm going to move on. And where do I go? All right. One of the, here we are. Okay, just going to move this over. It's really great to have two screens, but sometimes you do wonder where everything is. Okay. Sue, what's the Astro gift? Yes, it was an Astro hamper. Um, yes, I have to tell you about that another time. Okay. So when we look at the zodiac, in fact, I'm going to share a different page for a second. Here we go. Right. Okay. It tells you the dates of the sun through the signs, but as we know, as soon as you get your birth chart, you'll realize that you're more than your sun sign. You've got a moon sign, Mercury, all the planets are in a particular sign. Some of them are generational. Pluto moves very slowly through the signs. The moon, however, is so close to us that it appears to move through the signs every 2.5 days. And then we've got the ascendant or the rising sign as well. So this is something that we introduced in 101, the map of the chart and that snapshot of time. But here are the 12 signs that we're going to be looking at today and getting some recaps. And I'm going to encourage you all to say something about the signs as we go through. Just share your observations or things that you don't feel are quite true about the signs as well. It'd be really interesting to get your take on it as well, because one of the reasons why I love teaching astrology is that I never stop learning too. So anything you want to share with me along the way, it will be great. I'm always curious to hear other people's perspectives, of course. Okay, so the zodiac signs start from Aries all the way through to Pisces, and this is based simply on the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, when the day and night are equal length, and that moment we call zero Aries. Now, astrologers know that nowadays, with what we call the precession of the equinoxes, zero Aries isn't where it used to be. And we're now back into Pisces. And it's astronomically, there's a difference between that. And the Vedic astrologers, the astrologers in India, and the people that use sidereal astrology use a zodiac that's about 24 degrees earlier. And that's because of they do a starting point based on where uh, where the that point starts now. But as astrologers in the West, using the tropical zodiac, we take that moment to represent zero Aries. And where it may sound very random to scientists, it might sound bizarre or foolhardy to skeptics. Um, Astrology is based on observation. It's not based on 12 stereotypes. It's based on thousands of years of people watching the sky, watching things being born at a moment and seeing how the sky reflects that. And the remarkable thing is that astrology sprung up all over the world at different times. But thousands of years ago, people were reading the sky. People were watching eclipses. They were watching full moons and then seeing what was going on Earth. They were watching eclipses and noting that their leaders or their rulers were in crisis, for instance. So it is I would say it's an art, and certainly it's a science. It's based on astronomical configurations and calculations, but it's an art to understanding symbols simply beyond looking at planets and looking at stars with your telescope. And this is why it's not really gone away. Astrology has been very popular at times and it's lost popularity in so-called Enlightenment times. But in reality, it's spoken to people and it continues to speak to us. It continues to help answer the question of why are we here? Who am I? What do I need? What am I born to do? These are all things that we've been struggling with. We've been asking of the world, of the universe for millennia. Yeah. Okay. Yes, it's called, Evelyn, it's called the precession of the equinoxes. It's worth looking up, looking at a video on YouTube and just watching and explaining how the positions have changed over the years. But that's as far as I'm going to go today because I want to get into the astrology itself, of course. You'll notice that each sign is a unique combination of a modality, which could be cardinal, fixed, or mutable, and a element: fire, earth, air, and water. And they go round from Aries in that order: 3, 3, 3, 3, and then 4, 4, 4, 4. And each sign, as you'll remember from 101, is a unique combination. So you may have You certainly have three fire signs, but one is cardinal, one is fixed, one is mutable. The same for the earth signs, the same for the air, and the same for the water signs. So I haven't got the time to explain in detail all about this, but I want to get you thinking about the elements and the modes because they really do inform the meanings of the signs. You can understand where people are coming from. Okay. So let me see. In another, uh, here we are. Okay, let me just share with this. Okay, so we've got the three fire signs. If you connect them in the chart in the wheel, they form a triangle, what we call the fire trine. They're the three fire signs. Then we've got the three earth signs, supposed to be harmonious with each other. Well, signs get along with each other in principle, but it doesn't mean that if you're Virgo and you're living with a Capricorn, doesn't mean it's harmonious by any means. You still have to live with somebody. Um, but there's a connection between the elements. Okay? And then we've got the air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. And we've got the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Okay? We'll talk about these elements in a moment. And then we divide the zodiac into cardinal signs that are either opposite each other or at right angles. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. These are said to be a little bit more tense. So whereas the elements have a natural affinity, if you are born of the same modality, like cardinal or cardinality, there's more friction. It's like having four chefs in the same kitchen, or four bosses telling you what to do, or telling each other what to do. So we've got the four cardinal signs. And then straight after those, we've got the four fixed signs: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. And again, doesn't mean you can't get on with people. Of course, astrology isn't uh, black or white in that sense. But the four fixed signs, there's a tension there between them, in a sense. And then we've got the four mutable signs: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. And we'll be looking at what all of these mean um, in a moment. Um, okay, let's see. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to change that. Too many windows open. Here we are. Okay. Now, one of the things that we teach you early on is the focus on the big three, what I call the big three. And I would call the big three the sun, the moon, and the ascendant, also known as the rising sign. Okay. So if we look at a birth chart for tonight, this will be, if somebody was born tonight at 7 in London, this is what their chart would look like. We'd be able to see the moon high in the sky. The sun has already gone below the horizon because the sun has already set. It's down here in the sign of Capricorn. And if you know any Capricorns, they've just been celebrating their birthday recently. And the moon is in Aries. So in a chart, we're going to go straight to the sun as one of the big three, the moon, and this arrow here, what we call the 9 o'clock position, or the beginning of the first house, the rising sign or the ascendant. So we've got the sun in Capricorn today, the moon in Aries, and we teach you all the glyphs, etc. And we've got Leo rising, or Leo on the ascendant. And they're the big three that I always say, start off with those. And they mean different things. So if you're a sun in Capricorn and a moon in Aries, it's quite different from being a sun in Aries and moon in Capricorn, the reverse. Yeah, quite different. They still have the same energy, but there's different purposes, different reasons. So the sun, instead of being your set of behavioral traits, the sun is more about your journey in life, what you're here to become. your vocation, your calling. The sun is really what you've been invited to do. And each sun sign is actually a lot deeper than simply saying Capricorn is serious or ambitious or reserved. It's not really about that. The sun sign is about this journey. And for the sun in Capricorn, it's a journey of mastery. It's a long climb towards independent achievement, doing something for society, making your mark, overcoming obstacles, having a long apprenticeship, uh, defeating controlling or tyrannical figures in your life. There's a whole mythology and interpretation around each of the signs, simple rather than simply just a bunch of adjectives for each. The moon is a lot more personal. It's who you are behind closed doors. It's your emotional responses to life. Now, you may have your sun and moon in the same sign, which means you're born around the new moon, where they're together from our position. Or you might have them in opposite signs or very different signs. But the moon is your inner personal self, your reactions, what you're sensitive to. It's how you maybe saw your mother or mother figures in your life, what you need in your home, what you need to feel safe, secure, comfortable. We tend to be more like our moon signs, particularly growing up and particularly at home, particularly in relationships, and sometimes at work as well. The moon comes out daily, and it's about daily moods, daily changes, flexible, moon-like things. So that's the second of the big three. And the third is the ascendant. Now, the ascendant's really the gateway into the chart, the front door. And we can walk out the front door and we can also walk in. And the ascendant is how we perceive the world, the impression that we want to make, how we appear to others. Often it's linked to how we dress up, how we appear, how we look. We tend to look more like our parents, but often the ascendant will mean that we want to do something with it to express it physically. So that ascendant is our open agenda. What do you expect as you go out your front door? With Leo on the ascendant, as it is at 7 o'clock, we might expect for people to treat us well. Leo is a sign of pride and dignity. Don't laugh at me, respect me. These are things that are attached to Leo. Leo is a creative person, wants to go out into the world and make an impact. So the ascendant, which is based on the birth time, because all of the ascendants rise, all 12 of them, each of the signs rise on the ascendant roughly every 2 hours. So somebody born half an hour later than you might have the next ascendant, or they could have the same one depending on the degree of the ascendant. So all of these things are important, but these are the big three. We also have a Mercury sign, a Venus sign, a Mars sign. They all are different facets of who we are. But the big three are the ones to focus on. So tonight, as we go through the signs, if you know your big three, just keep those in mind and recognize that each one has a particular function in your life. That's the key. So the sun, your sun is that goal. It's the journey. It's what you're here to do. The moon is the emotional realm, your reactions, your responses, your feelings. What's important in that sense. The sun is what's important to you in your long-term goal. Who am I here to become? What am I here to do? And the ascendant is how you come across, your meet and greet personality, how you interact with the world. Okay. Francis asked, is the ascendant still tropical? Yes, I'm using the tropical zodiac. I'm not using sidereal. We're not doing anything in that sense, but yes, at the moment, everything will be tropical as we teach you. I had a student a few years ago that was learning Vedic astrology and Western tropical astrology. And I said, please, please, please wait. Don't learn them both at the same time. They're both such different systems that you're bound to be overwhelmed. And indeed, she was. Sadly, it was just too much. So yes, keep it. We tend to build up through year one and introduce different facets of the chart, so it's not overwhelming. But there's a lot to learn, but it's exciting. It's all about you. You know, it's not just Aries that loves everything about them. All right. So let's have a merry dance through the signs and the elements. So we're thinking about the element of fire. You might want to put some details in the chat box if you want to share anything. But what do we know about fire? It warms things, doesn't it? We get a sense of enthusiasm with the fire signs, contagious enthusiasm, burns brightly. It might burn out as well, but the energy, you can feel it, it crackles. Think of fire in that sense. So the three fire signs bring energy, passion, Triona says, enthusiasm, action, movement, motivation, yes. Temperamental and passionate, yes. Thank you for all of those, yes. The element really talks about the motivation. And the fire signs are motivated by greatness. You know, their sense of, I want to do something grand in the world. This is my grand vision. Now, life may humble them sometimes, as it does. They may think, oh dear, I was so enthusiastic and then uh, I put out all of that energy into the world and nothing came back. So fire can get deflated. It can get put out sometimes, because the world isn't fiery. Other people are a bit more practical or slower to get excited with things. Hmm. Fire loves challenge, competition, risk. Yeah. They want to get noticed. Fire people get noticed a bit more. They make their mark in that way. Um, Usually quite playful, childlike. Why can't I do that? I'll do it. I'll keep going. Yeah. If you want to be promoted, uh, get a fire person to do that for you. They'll promote you. They may not do it for 20 years, but they'll certainly come in and say, aren't you wonderful? Let's focus on this. Let's fire you up. Let's get you excited. Yeah. So spirit, future orientated, the fire signs. Yeah. Don't give me any negativity. Let's just be passionate about something. The earth signs follow the fire signs and they say, hang on a minute, don't get carried away. What about developing or grounding or building? And this is what the earth signs are about. They say, hang in there, you can burn yourself out. Let's get a foundation sorted. Yeah. And so the earth signs want to be grounded in the present. They're not interested in necessarily always thinking about the future, which can be fire, or the past, which can be water. It's like, what's going on now? What can we do? And how can we get things sorted and moving? Earth signs want tangible results. They want things that are expedient. They want to make the world a better place. They can be conservative. They can say, well, hang on, let's just, I'm a bit suspicious of anything foreign, new, um, anything that's going to redesign the wheel. They like what's tried and tested. Yeah. And they want to respect that in a way. They might be a little bit suspicious of anything that is too flash in the pan, or says that they're too original. Earth signs can be slow, deliberate, but they're the rocks. They're the people that support, keep things going, and there's a groundedness there that's extremely important. They're the builders. Um, Often, Earth is very much about the body and learning to get in touch with the body, particularly with Virgo, which can be too much up in the mind and need to learn about the body. So what have we got here? Grounded, practical, the real world. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Then we've got the three air signs. Yeah. Whereas Earth was, let's think about our resources. Let's think about our possessions. What are we investing in? Now, air is more, well, let's think about ideas. Let's conjure up something new. Let's take it somewhere new. It's a bit like going on the stock market and investing in futures. An earth sign person couldn't understand that. You know, an air or a fire person might say, yeah, that sounds interesting. Let's invest in that and hope something will happen with it. Earth signs will, I want the land. I want to know I own it. So the air signs are about ideas and they follow the earth signs for a very particular reason. It's like, okay, you're there, you're grounded. Now let's take it somewhere. Let's connect with people. The air signs want to communicate, connect, learn, exchange, be connected in many, many different ways. Air signs want space, equality, freedom. They can be a bit aloof, but they're sociable. They're interested in ideas and people. May not be interested necessarily in all the messiness that goes on with relationships and people. It's a bit like, that's lovely to know you're doing that, but no, don't ring me 25 times a day crying. But tell me how you're doing and give me the phone number of somebody that might interest me. That would be the air signs talking. So there's a separateness, a distance, but we need that in order to see the overall picture. So the air signs are very good at conjuring up the ideas, often for the future, and certainly ways of connecting to get us thinking outside of the box in different ways. Yeah. And Tara says, yes, Libra is interested in relationships. Yes, but not the messiness of them, the fairness of them, the balance. Are you happy? I'm happy. We're okay. Are we talking? Are we communicating? Are we being civil? The air signs are very civilized. Yeah. Uh, so Libra is very much about relationships. All the air signs are, but it's not in the mucky, I can't live without you, I'm stalking you type of thing that you you might find in some other signs. Okay, anything else? Reasoning, reasonable, variety, travel. They're the salespeople, the persuaders, the advocates. Generally, they're quite civilized and tolerant. Generally. We all have an intolerance sometimes of things, but the air signs pride themselves on being objective. Yeah. And then after the air signs, we've got, yes, logical. Thanks, Emily. Logical and all about connection. After the air signs of that rationality, we've got the water signs. We think about water, we think of emotion, tears, blood, sweat, and tears. You know, we think of connecting on a deeper level where fire and air are up there burning or rising, heat rises and airs around us. Earth is on the ground, but water will sink to the lowest point. And so water is very much about what goes on underneath, what's unspoken, how are you really feeling. Don't tell me how you think you feel. Tell me how you feel. Show me how you feel. Draw me a painting, a picture. Show me a movie. Let's cry at the same song. The water signs need to connect in a deeper level, not on a mental air-like way, but on a deeper connected way. So what do we got? Thank you for the words. Intense, intuitive, empathetic, and compassionate. Yes. Thank you, all of those, for those. Mystical, feelings, all the things that we know exist, but we can't prove. Like, like the mysteries of life, whether we call that God, nature, love, spirituality, energy, somebody's energy, intuition. I feel something's not right. Are you okay? These belong to the water element, that remarkable ability to really, in some way, articulate what can't be articulated, or to find a way to articulate that. Water likes to merge, to fuse. It's about the past. Yeah? But water cleanses. And if we don't talk about our emotions, like water, we can get toxic. We can hold on to things where it becomes bitter and upset and angry and full of rage. So water, in one way, needs to be cleansed, just like water does out there in nature. If it just stagnates, it can be harmful. It can be toxic. Okay, any other bits I wanted to share with you? So water wants to make an emotional connection. They're interested in human values. They're interested in uh, something beyond fire, the inspiration of fire, or the practicality of earth, or the ideas of air. We've got uh, inspiration, practicality, ideas, emotion, the four elements. And of course, our charts have all of those signs in them, but some of those elements are more highlighted because we have more planets in them. Yeah. And very often, what is highlighted most, for example, you might have more water in your chart and very little air. Well, what you've got a lot of, you tend to be quite fluent in. You can access it well. What you haven't got a lot of, so you might have a lot of water but no air, no planets in air, or very few. What you haven't got in the chart, that lack is really interesting because that can be a hidden underlying motivation that can almost, should we say, ruin the possibility of you um, getting the most out of your chart. Yeah? You can be acting from a unconscious level when you've got a lack of an element. So it's always important to look at what's dominant in the chart and also what's missing. Both of them give us a lot of information. And in 101, we talk a lot about the when you've got a strong element and a missing element too. Okay. And then each of the signs is divided into three elements. So we've got three modalities. We've got four elements: fire, earth, air, and water, as we've just seen. Hang on, there we go. Fire, earth, air, and water. And there are three signs. So 3 times 4 is 12. With the modalities, we've got 4 times 3. So we've got 4 lots of 3 modalities. So 4 signs for each of the 3 modalities. 4 times 3 is 12. And with the cardinal signs, they're all about, in some way, moving things forward, dealing with conflict. It might be complaining, campaigning, working towards something. But the cardinal signs are driven. They really are driven uh, to meet things, not always head on, but to take action, to deal with conflict. Even if a sign like Libra doesn't like the idea of hostile or open conflict, or Cancer might even tread sideways instead of dealing with things head on. But the cardinal signs are all about getting things done. These are the signs that like to work for themselves. They like to run their own business. They don't want to be, if they have to be number 2, they want some autonomy working there. Yeah. So the cardinal signs are interesting. Um, you could call them the bosses sometimes. Those 4 signs like to be in charge, but each one of them is a particular element. So they're all maybe want to be in charge. Aries wants to do it in a fiery way. Capricorn in an earthy way. Libra in an airy way. And Cancer in a watery way. Yeah? So they'll all have their particular motivation. But the modality is the style. Yeah? The style, how you get on, how you use the energy. So they're all motivated by different elements. So Libra will be cardinal and say, let's come together and have a conversation. Let's get to the meeting table and resolve this conflict civilly. That's air. It's cardinal air. Let's move forward and meet up and chat. Yeah. Cancer will say, let's gather together for a reunion or somebody's birthday because it's emotional. So Cancer will move forward, sideways sometimes with the crab, but will move forward with an emotional motivation. Let's get connected. You know? Capricorn will, known as the architect of the zodiac, and in an earthy way, it will build. Let's build this together. Let's build this company. Let's be practical, slow, and let's develop seriously and carefully and move something forward. And Aries is cardinal fire, so there's energy of let's start it, let's get enthused. Aries is like the pace setter in a race. Doesn't finish the race, it's not about that, but it's about getting everybody else going, leading the way, getting people enthused and excited. Yeah. So that's cardinal fire. So when you start putting them together, you get a sense of what the signs are about. You also get a sense that each sign is very different from the sign before it and the sign after it. Now, some of you may have planets in the signs before and after. Yeah, so you might be a Taurus, but you've got your Mercury in Aries. So the way you communicate, Mercury is in Aries, but the sun is in Taurus. The fundamental journey is Taurian. But generally speaking, signs next door to each other are incredibly different, and they're almost a reaction against the previous sign. Where Aries says, come on, I'm ready to start. Taurus says, slow down. And Gemini then says to Taurus, come on, don't be such a stick in the mud. Let's think of possibilities. And then Cancer says to Gemini, yeah, you thought of all the possibilities, but what about the emotional thing? How is it going to affect the family? Or how am I going to feel? And then Leo says to Cancer, well, yes, the family is important, but what about me? I'm the individual here. And then Virgo says to Leo, well, you can make a lot of noise, but somebody's got to do the work and get it fixed and get it right. And then Libra says to Virgo, you can work in that way, but you've been working for nothing for years. How about some balance, some equality? Let's have a healthy balance in your life. And let's think about different relationships with people. And then Scorpio comes along and says to Libra, okay, you can do relationships like that, but really relationships are messy and dark and full of all sorts of things that get brought up about who we are. So Scorpio says to Libra, life isn't about being on the surface, trying to keep everybody happy. It's about feeling real, getting deep, and sometimes dark. And then Sagittarius comes after Scorpio and says, okay, Scorpio, you've gone deep. You've gone deep into your psychology, asking about the mysteries of the world. What about the wider world? What about the big questions in life? What about what you can learn from the world, from other cultures, from other places? What about uh, continuing to learn and never be too blinkered? Scorpio is very much about tunnel vision. Sagittarius says, oh, just invite everybody. We'll learn from everybody. And we'll go on a big life journey. And then Capricorn comes along and says to Sagittarius, well, that was fun. You spent the last 20 years journeying but never arriving. How about establishing something? How about putting your name to something, committing to something, being responsible, showing up, creating something for the next generation? Let's get a rule book in so we know when everybody's committed and what the rules are. And then Aquarius comes along and says, oh, screw that. It says to Capricorn, that's nice. You created society for us and all the rules and the hierarchies and what we need to do. But I'm tearing up that rule book. Doesn't interest me. I want to do my own thing. I want to be free. Yeah. I'm here for the common good, the equality of people. And then after Aquarius, Pisces comes along and says, yes, that's wonderful that you've been fighting for the good of humanity. But actually, you're also around the animal kingdom, the ocean, the world. There's energy, there's spirit, there's mystery beyond simply human beings. And Pisces reminds Aquarius that we are um, just a drop in the ocean and the ocean in a drop. That's what Pisces knows. And Pisces knows that there are mysteries that we can only yearn for, that we can only um, paint and take pictures of to try to glimpse the great, unfathomable mysteries of the world. And then the zodiac starts again with the newborn Aries, saying, okay, Pisces, you've gone back into the ocean and now we want to be reborn. I'm here again. I'm starting to make my mark. Yeah. So the zodiac is this remarkable journey that is really about life. From the newborn of Aries to Taurus learning about its toys, and Gemini learning language, Cancer learning family and families, Leo learning individuality as a teenager, Virgo going to work and getting paid practically nothing, or working for the larger scheme of things. Libra enters relationship. Scorpio goes deep with that relationship. Sagittarius ventures out into the world. Capricorn shares his experience. And Aquarius uh, then looks at changing the world to try to make it a better place. And Pisces tries to change the whole world, or connect to it in a divine way. Well, thank you. Thank you. So anyway, I veered off, but I thought that was a moment to do that. So, and each sign rules a particular part of the body. Aries starts with the head, Taurus is the neck. Gemini is when the body parts gets into two, the at the shoulders and the arms. Cancer's the womb, the stomach, the breasts. Leo's the back, the heart. Virgo's the intestines that breaks everything down into little pieces. Libra's the kidneys. Scorpio's the genitals. Sagittarius the thighs. Capricorn the skin, the bones, but the knees. Aquarius is the calves, and Pisces the feet. Fascinating. And different parts of the world are said to be connected to different signs as well. But I think that can be very subjective as well. All right. So back to the cardinal signs for a minute. They've all got a particular style. Let's meet things, let's take charge, let's move things forward. That's what the cardinal signs want to do. But they've all got a particular motivation to do that. And that's the key. I have some notes on that. I'm sure there was something else I wanted to say. Probably not. You can find out more somewhere else in another video of mine. Then we have the fixed signs, where the cardinal signs start things, the fixed signs sustain them. So when you think about holding on, carrying something, um, loyalty, determination, these are the fixed signs, that ability to keep things going. The cardinal signs trigger, start, instigate. The fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, are about holding on to things, keeping things going. Yeah. And again, each one has its own motivation. So Taurus is fixed earth. I'm holding on to my possessions, what I've got, what I've built. It's a lot more than that, of course. I'm just giving you some ideas. Leo is, I hold on to my beliefs, my sense of self, my pride. Scorpio is, I hold on to my emotions, fixed water. Yeah. Holding on to the things that I treasure most, the things that run deep, the things that are important to me emotionally. And Aquarius is fixed air, fixed ideas. This is the way it should be. I've got an idea of how I can change the world, make the world a better place, get people thinking differently. So, where cardinal signs can sometimes engage too much in conflict or needing always to move things forward, the fixed signs can sometimes get stuck by being too stubborn, too entrenched in a particular way of doing something. They forget they need to change. And this is where the mutable signs come in, because the mutable signs are about flexibility. So you'll notice if we go back, the cardinal signs are there, and then they're followed by the fixed signs, each of the signs after. There we go. And then finally, the last four signs are all mutable signs. So again, we've got all of these in our charts, but we may have more of an emphasis on mutability or cardinality, or we might have no fixity, for instance. And these all mean something in the scheme of things. So the mutable signs are about learning and exploring and questioning. Um, think about the cardinal starting something, the fixed sustaining it, the mutables like to share it. Try this. Have you read this? The mutables are always about being in process of some kind. I'm learning this today. I'm trying that tomorrow. I'm having a chat with 3 people tomorrow about traveling to the other side of the world next year. All of those things. It's always about a sense of juggling, movement, many, many different options. But again, they all come from a different motivation, a different element. So Gemini is mutable air. It's lots of ideas, juggling ideas. Gemini is very good at having two opposing ideas and being able to sit with them quite happily. I love and hate you. Or, I totally understand where you're coming from and I totally disagree. Or two things they feel about themselves. Movable ideas, changeable. You know, okay, I thought you were, you know, attached to this. Oh, that was yesterday, says the mutable Gemini air. Yeah, I'm now interested in something else. Yeah. Now, Virgo comes from mutable earth, where it's trying to be useful, processing information. Where Gemini will give you 10 phone numbers and say, contact these people, they'll give you some information. Virgo wants you to look in the library where they have fastidiously collected all the information to be useful. They want to be earthy, grounded and useful, but mutable as well. Busy juggling lots of projects, but they've all got to have some meaning to make the world a better place in some way, to be useful. Sagittarius is mutable fire. So all these different beliefs and ideas and inspirations. Yeah. I thought you were devout Christian, Muslim, whatever. Yeah, but I tried this and I read about this and I've just met somebody who's introduced me to uh, to to something else. Sagittarius is always on the lookout to answer the big questions of life, to be inspired in a fiery way and to inspire other people, but in many different ways, not in a fixed way. And we have mutable water. Um, so the idea of compassion for everybody, feeling many, many different things, many feelings coming in, being a chameleon that's so Piscean in many different ways. Yeah, feeling and being changeable about your feelings, searching for meaning through feelings, different ways. So the mutable signs add something to the jigsaw that the fixed signs don't have and the cardinal signs don't have. And if you can see it, we really do need a bit of everything, don't we? We need that ability to get going, cardinal. We need the ability to sustain, not to give up too quickly, and to be loyal or to hold on to things. And we need the ability to be flexible, to say, you know what, it's time I moved on, or it's time I embrace something different. Yeah. So each of the signs has a element and a mode. And this is what is, let me just share this. This is what really builds the zodiac. Okay. And this is what's exciting. And remember that each sign has a whole range, a whole spectrum of possibility. So if some of these interpretations, these ideas don't ring true for you, you're experiencing maybe another aspect of that. Or you think that doesn't sound like my Libra boyfriend or my Scorpio mum. Well, go beyond the sun sign. Have a look at their moon sign. Have a look at their ascendant. The moon and the ascendant tend to be more of our reactions, our day-to-day characteristics, our behavioral traits, for instance. Yeah. The other thing is that often, particularly with the sun sign and the moon sign, you could say as well, is that we tend sometimes to wallow in the worst of the opposite sign. And this is something that I mention a lot at the LSA. So you'll find a Pisces, maybe a sun in Pisces, who is wallowing in the worst of Virgo. So somebody with the sun in Pisces, in a way, is born to get connected to higher realms in some way through music, art, photography, uh, to escape into the imagination. Doesn't have to be an escape, but certainly to access the um, unspoken connections that music, art, film connect, resonate with us. But sometimes you meet a sun in Pisces who, instead of doing that, they've decided to stick with and wallow in the worst of the opposite sign, which in this case is Virgo. And the worst of Virgo might be an addiction to ritual or a fear of germs or being so busy about trying to be neat and tidy and clean. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being neat and tidy and clean, particularly clean. But Pisces is, and it's Pisces isn't the opposite of that. But Pisces is about just go with the flow. It's a bit like going out there and just painting because the mood takes you. Virgo is like, you've got to do it at 8:58 and you've got 2 minutes to do that. It likes to systematically program everything and to control everything. Or you might meet a Virgo who is born to be in some way of service or to create a craft and to excel in a craft. You might meet a Virgo who is languishing in the worst of Pisces, being unreliable, being all over the place, not knowing what day of the week it is, uh, being just a sort of wet fish, a mess in some way. The worst of Pisces, losing control, being addicted, spending all day drinking, uh, or alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be. So often with the sign, there's this journey, but you meet people who are the exact opposite of that, and they're actually languishing. And what we can do as astrologers, we can say, hang on a minute, this is what you're allegedly here to do. We can learn a lot from our opposite signs, the good parts and the bad, but this is what you're here to do. So if you're an Aries, don't be sitting around trying to people please. Don't try to keep everybody happy. You're going to make yourself unhappy. You've got to dare to do your own thing instead of sitting around being in the back seat of your own car or being in the not being in the driver's seat, for instance. Yeah. So each of the signs, and we cover this more and in the books and all the different things that we do, lots of articles on the freebies, in the free folders, all of that, the student extras, etc. Describe all these possibilities. So this is what's fascinating about it, is that I often, until I describe the opposite, people then think, that's where they are. People don't realize, and they think, well, they're just not a Pisces. They seem more like a Virgo or the worst of a Virgo. Oh. And some of you, like Eva mentions here, you've got the sun and moon in opposite signs. So your journey in life is about attending to both of those signs and not just swinging from one to the other or sitting in an uncomfortable place. And I'm just talking about wallowing. We can learn a lot from each of the signs. But you do find, for example, a lot of Cancerians in a rigid Capricorn way, hard line, hard nose, all about ambition, the worst of Capricorn, Machiavellian, the end justifies the means. Or you meet a lot of Capricorns that sit around saying, poor me, my mother slapped me when I was 5 years old. They're the worst of sitting around wallowing in their Cancerian unhappiness of, I didn't have what everybody else had. Yeah. And I'm not judging you on that, of course, before anybody takes offense. I'm just saying that the chart says where to go. And sometimes we stay in the opposite place for whatever reason. And there's integrity sometimes in staying in a difficult place if you want to be there. But the chart does talk about where you can go. And I think that's what's important here. Okay. Yes, so some of you will have sun sign, moon sign opposite, sun sign opposite the ascendant sign. And again, it highlights the axis, what we call the polarity, the signs that are opposite each other. And that's it'll say a lot of your life journey is about those two signs as well. Okay. I'm not going to go into particular aspects like sun square moon, but looking at your sun moon combination, they will have things in common and they'll have things that are very, very different. I have an Aries sun with a Virgo moon, and my Aries sun likes to get things done quickly, and my Virgo moon likes to get things done slowly and carefully. And I like to think that when they're both working well, there is an ability to get things done quickly and thoroughly, to get to the point, get to the essence of something quickly. Yeah. But they're very, very different signs to each other. One's cardinal fire, one is mutable earth. Yeah. Um, so your sun moon combination is very important. And there will always be areas of conflict, unless they're in the same sign, of course. Even then, they may have different aspects from different planets, which we look at in 102. But if they're in different signs, there will be things in common and things that are quite different that need need review in some way. Okay. All right. So I'm going to have another quick drink to keep my voice in order. Hmm. I hope the last hour has given you some insight. A lot of you will know a lot about these signs already. They are more than simple adjectives. They are more than Gemini being gossipy, sociable, chatty, nervous, Virgo being, critical, fastidious, all of the things that we hear. There are a lot more. They are deeper. And the more we look into the signs, the more we realize that they are archetypes of human experience, fundamental aspects, all in one. And if we have a sun, moon, or ascendant in any of these signs, which of course we all do, even if we don't know our birth time, we still have an ascendant. We just may not know it. Um, those three are going to be fundamental parts of who we are. And the journey of those archetypes, the meaning of those signs are going to be very powerful in our lives. Yeah. Everyone says, can we display characteristics of the opposite sign of the ascendant? We can do as well. That wallow follow aspect I've just been talking about tends to show up most obviously in the sun and moon, but it can also be in the ascendant, descendant. So if your Cancer rising, Capricorn is on the descendant opposite, you've got a natural axis in the chart, it can play out. You can end up being more Capricorn or inviting more Capricorn into your life. It depends on what you project, what you give away, what you throw away as well. Okay. All right. Um, yes, okay. Is it Rue? Somebody asked to divide the sun. There's also a thing called decans, which I will mention a little bit more of um, in the course to come. But you can divide the 30 degrees of each sign into the first 10, the middle 10, and the final 10 as well. And that just gives you a slightly different quality to each of those. I won't explain that now, otherwise we won't have time. But yes, the decans or the decans or the decanates, you can divide the signs into three equal segments. First 10, middle 10 degrees, final 10 degrees. But more of that another time. Okay. But thank you for asking that. Okay. Let's take a look at the signs. Now, this is my goodness, this is probably like the biggest, heaviest file that I've ever had on my computer because um I put all these amazing pictures together for each of the 12 signs, so they may take a while to load even on a Mac. And as we've got the final 20 minutes of tonight, next week, of course, we're going to be looking at the planets and starting to just revise what they mean in the chart. But I wanted to focus on the elements, the modes, and the signs today. Um, have a look at the images for each of the signs. What inspires you? What does it say to you? So we've got the Firebird. We've got the number one, the coming first, the competition, the lighting of the spark, the shoot starting. In fact, of course, we know that rather than the cardinal signs being the beginning of the season, they're actually where the season really develops into its own. It's sort of mid-season rather than beginning of season. But we've got the shoot, we've got that sense of, wow, it's spring again, or springing into action with Aries, being number one, taking a leap, being courageous, fire and cardinality, uh, daring. And it's usually of an innocence because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac as a baby. It says, I dare. Linda Goodman, an Aries, who wrote Linda Goodman's Sun Signs, the best selling astrology book of all time, um, she says, the Aries child will speak back to an armed robber, or um, armed gangster, or a traffic cop. There's a blind faith and ability to just speak up and be courageous. And it's not from experience of being shut down or shot at, it's from the sense of, this is right, I need to speak up. Fast. Thank you for all your words. Great. I'm delighted. It's inspiring you to think about that. Yeah. Think of the ram. My brother-in-law lives in Mexico and he is an Aries. And his meme, you may have seen it, his meme became viral, went viral a few years ago, where he has a bunch of rams on his farm. And every time he goes to feed the ram, they charge at him. And he had this recording, this meme of him putting his foot up just to protect himself. It just went viral. But he's an Aries, and he he surrounds himself with real life rams. It was quite funny to watch. Then the next sign, Taurus. Oh, after all that energy of Aries, Taurus says, slow down, enjoy life. Yes, you can win, you can compete, but what's it if you can't enjoy the pleasures and leisures of life? Look at all those wonderful images here. The slowness, the steadfastness, the enjoyment of the soil, the comfort. Yeah, just being under the bed. I'm hoping most of you will enjoy that tonight, or if maybe you're watching me from a comfy duvet in the cold. Just an enjoyment of that. Looking at the fundamentals, the money, the piggy bank, all of these things. Yeah. Calm, sensuality. Thank you for your comment. Pleasure, good food, good sex, just an enjoyment of life, being there for somebody. Yeah. Taurus is very good at saying, I'll be there, and they're there. Aries and Gemini, both signs either side, will, oh, I'm sorry I'm late. I had other things to do. Or was it yesterday? Oh dear. I had too many things I committed to. Taurus is there for you. So each sign, look at the signs either side, and you'll learn so much about yourself from the signs either side of your sun, moon, and ascendant, particularly the sun. You'll be surrounded by people that encapsulate, if you're a Taurus, they encapsulate the Aries energy and the Gemini energy. And this is why you're born to be a Taurus, to do something different. Yeah. And then Gemini comes along. Come on, Taurus, don't be so boring. There's so many things to read, to juggle. There's so many people to ring, to telephone. Yeah. There's a side of me that I don't even know. And I'm fascinated by it. I want to learn. Gemini is the sign of the twins. Yeah. Language, communication. Who am I? 101 questions. My joke is that Aries, the first word of Aries is me, or like they're about to prepare for an opera. Me, me, me. Taurus is no, I'm not doing it. You're going to have to persuade me. And Gemini is why? Why? Look at that. Look at all the images of Gemini. Social butterfly, communication, busy, but such a different energy from the previous one. You see, you learn so much from the signs next door. Youthful, thank you. Yeah. Duality, being able to have two different thoughts, ideas, projects, at least two. Then we've got a sense of home and belonging. Cancer says to Gemini, you've spent all your time running around like a blue ass fly. What about going back home? What about connecting with the people that love you or the things that matter to you? Get out the photographs. Contact the aunt you haven't spoken to for years. Have a meaningful conversation. Get the food out. Invite the friends round. Celebrate the coronation. Cancer's all about history, the enjoyment of tradition. And we can see that with this opposite sign of Capricorn as well. We learn a lot from that. Give me a hug. Give me a cuddle. Cuddle up with me. Let's enjoy. Let's have a cry together. Let's watch Robin Williams in something, you know. He was a sun in Cancer that always played on the emotions in it with his films. Yeah, food, family, the past, mum, um, history, protection, memory, yes, nurture. Thank you. Great, great keywords. That's Cancer. Very different from Gemini. Like you got to connect. Life can't be about 24,000 mobile phone numbers. It's got to be about what you feel. Yeah. Who you're connected to. Where do you come from? These are words and ideas Cancer is very interested in. And then we come back to fire. Let's have some fun. Let's play. I don't care if I'm 60, 70, 80 years old. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to be creative. I want to be proud. Leo, interestingly, isn't really about the audience. It's about the performance. It's about being in the moment. And you talk to most performers, and they won't talk about, oh, some of them will talk about the applause, and that's more to do with Aquarius, the attention. Leo is more about being in the moment, being able to create something. You talk to actors, performers, they'll tell you about the importance of that moment. In the moment, being able to interact, have a connection with the audience. Yes, it's lovely to have the applause at the end, but it's really about uh, the self-expression of Leo. Creative, regal. Yes, Catherine asked, do I have a word for Cancer? I guess the first word of a Cancer would be mum, wouldn't it? Or home, um, or I need. And the words for Leo, I've got to write them down one of these days and have some fun with them. I'm not sure if I'll come up with funny ones today, but I guess Leo is one, not number one, but one is like the royal we. Maybe with Leo, yeah, the key word is create in that sense. Everyone says, is Cancer country borders? Probably the border is more Capricorn. This is my limit. This is my definition. Cancer's more wherever you lay your hat is your home. Well, that could be Sagittarius as well in some way. But Cancer's more about the home and the family and the country rather than the border, I think. Yeah. And yes, you could ask if Leos like cats. I used to have a cat. She was a Leo as well. My goodness, she just wanted to be stroked. That's all Leos want. You may remember a year or two ago, 2 years ago, we had Boy George come in live and for a fundraiser and talk about his chart. And he said he was interested in a new Leo that he was starting a relationship with or interested in. I said, oh, you just need to stroke him. That's all you need to do. That's all Leos need is a nice stroke to feel appreciated, not to be made fun of, to be given their moment in the spotlight, to be given their moment of creativity. Yeah. That's interesting, Jessica. Yes, your mum with Capricorn moon, Cancer ascendant, always talking about her mum and childhood, holding on to the past. Yeah, both those signs, Cancer and Capricorn, are about tradition and the past, but also the challenge is not to be a slave of it, to be able to not repeat things blindly or to just think things were better. because we know that nostalgia ain't what it used to be. So Cancer and Capricorn, that's part of their journey of learning that this moment is important. When people tell me, the Aries in me really reacts to this. People say to me, "Oh, my university years were the best years of my life." I'm thinking, what are you still doing here? Like, if you already had the best years of your life, I don't get that. What are you doing? Well, that's a little bit about my Aries talking, perhaps. Um, Catherine says, "Is the all about me being seen? It's about being recognized. Yes, it's about being heard, seen in a deeper level. Like we nowadays we say to people, I see you. I recognize you. You know, that's what Leo needs. Recognize that I'm different from the crowd, that I have something to offer that's mine. Yeah, that I think that's the key to Leo. Uh, Susan says, is Leo the ascendant the same? Um, it's a Leo ascendant. So this, as I said earlier, the sun, moon, ascendant will all have different functions. It's still the same energy, but the ascendant with Leo will come out in the look. Leo ascendants give good hair often. And they, it's a sign that wants to look regal, wants to look dignified. So something about the appearance, something about how you interact with the world. Um, it's got that quality. It might command respect with Leo on the ascendant. Command authority. They may appear to be very confident when in fact they may have, like the rest of us, a lot of doubts, a lot of insecurities, a lot of questions. Yeah. So the ascendant, how you come across, it's not a false self, but it is a mask we use in order to navigate the world, to negotiate with people. Okay. And then after Leo, we've got Virgo, the Virgin, Virgo, the Maiden, and we've got the idea of organic, things that are natural. It's an earth sign. So let's be useful. Let's not poison ourselves. You know, we often, when you see people who are vegan, and maybe one day the whole world will be vegan, and we'll realize that the animals that we've been eating are also fellow members of our world. Um, but that, people must eat what they want to eat, of course. But when we, but for the time being, you often find Aquarius and Virgo strong in vegetarians. Sometimes with Virgo, it's the reaction, it's to meat. Sometimes with Aquarius, it's a moral stance or an ethical stance on not eating animals or animal products or wearing them, that sort of thing. So Virgo Aquarius often are about that. Um, anyway, I'm not vegan, but maybe one day we all will be. It will be interesting to see what develops as Pluto moves into Aquarius and beyond. So Tricia, yes, one of the words for Virgo could be organic, something natural, something from the soil. It's about lists and organization. Virgo is secretly controlling. It organizes everything, controls everything. It's so controlling, it takes the word controlling out of its sun sign description in books. It edits it out. Virgo is the natural editor. It's also the natural detective, a bit like Scorpio. So we've got the idea of Hercule Poirot, Miss Marple. They're the embodiment of Virgo. And Agatha Christie was a Virgo too. Um, so purity, that idea, yes, not good enough. Looking for perfection, striving for perfection, starting with the detail. Leo says, "Here's my creativity." Virgo says, "Let's keep the engine running. Let's learn a craft so we can fix things. We can be useful." Um, so Virgo secretly controls what Leo uh, rules over. Think of the king, but in the background is Virgo making sure everything is perfect, everything runs smoothly. And it doesn't mean the Virgo has to be in the background or subservient, but its energy is focused on getting things right or as perfect as they can be. And that's key, the key to detail. God is in the detail with Virgo. Yeah. Thank you, Miriam. Yes, proofreaders, uh, spotting errors. Virgo can't help it. That's the problem. I've got my moon in Virgo, and somebody sends me a article or they send me something and say, look at this. The first thing I notice is some sort of grammatical mistake. And I've learned for that not to be the first thing I tell them because part of me so wants them to get it right. It's not being critical, it's just noticing mistakes and wanting things to be perfect for other people. So, somebody writes to me and I want to say, could you put an apostrophe there? And do you know the difference between your and you are? I might ask them, but I don't anymore. And Virgo can be quite alone. That sense of aloneness, doing the thing, being head down, working on the craft, the needlepoint, the precision, the painting. Uh, and it's alone. Not always, of course, but it's that sign of I'm quite happy being comfortable on my own, doing my own thing. Along comes sociable Libra, interested in the interaction of people. Virgo wants to go natural. Libra is a sign that likes to paint itself. How do I look? Along with Leo, it's one of the signs of vanity. Yeah, I've got to look good. How's my hair? um, so Libra is a sign that is linked to beauty, aesthetics. Yeah, we've got the idea of a bridge between people, connecting two sides. Got the idea of um, also the two the two ways to go. Yeah, Gemini is indecisive because it's got always two things on the go. Which one should I give my attention to? But Libra has this obsession with making the right decision. Is it fair? Is it just? Have I been rude to that person? Let's be polite. Let's try and find a balance in life. Let's come together. Let's be beautiful. Let's be harmonious. Um, so there are very important aspects of decision making for the Libran. Yeah. Your partner, Trisha, had a teen nickname of Dandy. Yes. One of the most famous Librans, of course, would be Oscar Wilde, and that whole sense of aesthetics being the most important thing in the world, or at least saying that. Diplomacy, beauty, balance, fairness, justice. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Jessica, Virgo and Pisces need a lot of time alone. Virgo to focus and Pisces to chill out and not have the busyness of the world around them because they absorb so much. After Libra, we go deep and intense. Libra says, "Oh, we had a minor disagreement." Scorpio says, "Hang on a minute, you were trying to kill them. Let's be real. Let's go deep." Where Libra says, "Well, let's have polite tea and coffee and discuss this." Scorpio takes the gloves off and says, "Come on, this is going to be dirty." It's unafraid to be real, authentic, deep, and it's a sign of obsessions, of compulsions. Virgo can be like that too, but it's the great sign of metamorphosis. It knows that in order to really become who it needs to be, it needs to kill off its old self, to reinvent itself, to come out anew, to go from chrysalis to butterfly, to kill off an aspect of itself, or at least to try and understand the psychology of itself. Scorpio, I always joke here, Scorpio is interested in the three P's: politics, prostitution, and psychology. Very interested in all of those things. Interested in the side of life that people don't want to talk about, or people don't have the courage to face. The mysteries of life, the metamorphoses. And Scorpio is a sign of fixed water. It's the iceberg, where the power is below the surface. You don't get to see everything going on there. Things that are secretive, taboo. Thank you. Thank you both, Sandra and Jane. Yes. What's buried underneath? Fascinating sign. Interested in what makes everybody's tick, but the biggest mystery for Scorpio is itself. Like, why the hell am I so extreme? Why am I so dark? Why do I have these feelings of love and hate at the same time? That sort of thing Scorpio grapples with. Yeah. But it's not only the scorpion, it's the phoenix rising above it. When you meet a Scorpio that's on a level above, you meet somebody that's usually working with death, rebirth, trauma, psychology, um, alchemy of some kind on a spiritual level. But you meet the Scorpio scorpions that are just about sex, control, um, running a cult like Charles Manson, the control of people. You know, you can go to different levels, and Scorpio is a sign of all or nothing. It's a sign of extremes. Yeah. And then Sagittarius says, yeah, don't get so obsessed. Like, you know, you won't get out alive. Sagittarius, the centaur, the archer, blurting out the truth. I always joke, I said, Sagittarius, how do you walk with both feet in your mouth? That idea of I've got to speak the truth, searching for new horizons, new ideas, gambling on life, believing things are going to be great. Oh, don't worry, it's going to work out okay. But you've arrived in this country with no money. Oh, I'll find somewhere. I'll smile. Sagittarius is the great smile of the zodiac, really, the smiler, the winning smile. Yeah, I'll be friendly. I'll win people over. They'll love me. It's about learning and always uh, exploring, going further, asking the deeper questions of life. It takes the psychology of Scorpio and turns it into the philosophy of life, the meaning of life, not the obsession with somebody or something that Scorpio can do, but more of, well, what are we here for? What's it all about? Information, integrity, all these words down here are interesting for Sagittarius. These concepts it wants to play with, wants to travel the world, learn everything, freedom, adventure. Lucky. You know, if you believe you're going to be lucky, believe me, you will be. If you go out into the world feeling the world is going to deliver, uh, it usually does most of the time. And then after that, we've got the sign of experience. After the travel, we've Sagittarius is always about the journey. Capricorn is about the arrival. Let's become a master. Let's think about time. Let's think about reaching the top, working hard, organizing things, obeying the law. Look at these goats. I just think goats are fascinating. Wherever you find them, they'll find a way to get to the top for the view and also maybe for control, for the understanding of being able to see what's around them. Capricorn is about having fun in the old age. Often Capricorn feels old when they're young, and then they end up just loosening, getting comfortable in their skin, being the person they wanted to be, but later, at 30, maybe at 60, getting comfortable with that idea of feeling like they have to shoulder the whole world. Thanks, Jessica. Goal orientated, efficient, boundaries, commitment, conservative. Yeah. Capricorn often begins as the rebel, only to become what they rebelled against in a very interesting way. Okay, and then almost finally, Aquarius, as I said earlier, tears up the rule book that Capricorn tried to create, wants to stand out, to be different. Yeah? If Aries wants to be the first, I'm the first one to do this, or the youngest, Aquarius wants to be the only. I'm the only one doing this. I'm an oddbod, but it's okay. Aquarius goes from trying to please everyone to thinking, hang on a minute, what a waste of energy, to finally saying, screw you if you haven't got a sense of humor. And if you don't accept me for who I am, you know, Aquarius doesn't really want to be in a group that would have it as a member. Equality, fraternity, liberty, all the ideas of Aquarius, thinking outside the box. If you can think it, you can do it. You can be free, innovative. Aquarius truly is the innovative sign of the zodiac. Aries just breathes new life into it. That's what it does as the first sign. But Aquarius says, how can we make this different? How can we, yeah, take it somewhere new? Pluto's move into Aquarius is the emergence of AI on a global level. We can see that already. As soon as it moved in early last year, AI, AI. This is what we got over and over again. And then we've got this idea that, yes, we're force as a humanity. We're one human race, but actually we're also interconnected to everything. Even the things that we haven't even begun to imagine are out there. Aquarius and Pisces are both signs about aliens and X-Files and Beyond and Star Trek and Star Wars, all of those things you find people that have been instrumental in creating what is out there. Very Aquarius Pisces charts, sometimes Uranus and Neptune too. What else have we got here? We've got the idea of sacrifice. We've got the idea of giving of yourself. It's the opposite of Virgo. Virgo will give itself, hopefully, won't become the victim or martyr. Pisces can literally be the giver of everything. The Samaritan, the good Samaritan, seeking human kindness, seeking uh, that namaste, that God in me salutes the God in you, that feeling, that unitedness uh, in with all the mysteries of the world. People can also be about addiction. It can be about escape, looking for nirvana, all in the wrong places. Yeah, compassion, connection. Thank you. Okay, so there we have it. And yes, service, martyrdom, running a charity. Thank you, Jessica. Yes, that's a one great way of playing with that energy. Yeah, because we've got to be of service in some way. But we mustn't lose ourselves in that. We mustn't sacrifice ourselves. We can sacrifice our time and energy for a good cause, but maybe not ourselves. That's what the Aries in me says anyway. All right. Well, that wraps it up. If you're already part of 101, take a look at this. Absorb the zodiac as much as you can. If you want to be part of 102, we start in a couple of weeks. Join us for that. You may already know enough to join us for that, but I've summed up a lot of what we did in term 101. Next week, I'll be looking at the planets. Feel very welcome to join me. We record it if you can't make it and upload it in the free interpretation sessions. So I hope it's been an interesting journey. And whatever you do, whatever you study with astrology, wherever you study it with, have fun with it because it's a pretty remarkable subject to be learning and to be a part of. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Um, yes, Virgo is also service, and I've done my bit for tonight. Thanks, everyone. Have a great one. Take care of yourselves and each other.